Test 1, 2, 3. Test 1, 2.
We're all set. Call to order the City Council meeting for Monday, December 2nd, 2024. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, we are going to take a brief moment of silence for the tragic loss of Jacob Baird this past weekend.
Thank you.
On to number 3, roll call. Amanda.
Mark Bittner,
Here.
Shannon Derby,
Here.
Bill Leclerc,
Here.
Doug Brandt,
Here.
Tim Petrie,
Here.
Bonnie Shimalunas, Scott Steckmeiser,
Here.
Adam Mahusky,
Here.
Darla Leclerc. Here. All present.
Okay, on to number 4, consideration of any council member request to participate in this meeting from a remote location. Bill is remote tonight, so we're looking for a motion to allow him to join our meeting.
Make the motion to allow Bill to join.
Thank you, Mark. Second by Doug. Any council discussion? This will be a roll call vote. Amanda.
Shannon Derby. Doug Brandt.
Aye.
Tim Petrie.
Aye.
Bonnie Shimalunas.
Aye.
Scott Steckmeiser.
Aye.
Adam Mahusky.
Aye.
Darla Leclerc. Mark Bittner.
Aye.
All in favor.
Okay, thank you, Bill. Welcome to the meeting. On to number 5, public hearing. We don't have any of that tonight. So on to number 6, input from the public. If you wish to address the council, excuse me, wish to address the council, please step up to the podium on your left, state your name and address for the record. Please note, though, that the council can only ask questions related to your comment, and we'll get back to you at a later point with answers to your questions or concerns. So, input from the public.
Jeff Dalkey, 3727 Adams Street. A couple things tonight. First one I noticed on the way here on Adams Street, west side of Adams Street, and probably in the 3000 block, maybe, there's a big ice spot in the curb line. Is that a potential leak? Do we know? It's getting bigger, that's why I'm asking the question.
Can you repeat that address again?
It's on I think it's on the 3000 block of Adams Street. It's roughly in there, 30.
Yeah, so there's a sump pump that's been running out there.
Okay.
And I know that I spoke with Scott today about figuring out what we're gonna do with the ice there, so we're working on it.
Okay, it just kept getting bigger. So that's
Yeah,
why
I know we
I thought I'd
checked the
bring it.
service and stuff there, but it appears to just be a sump pump.
Thank you.
Just for the record, because folks at home probably didn't hear him, but Andrew Sukawati, our water utility director, noted that there's been a problem in that area with the sump pump discharge to the street, which is freezing, and it's being monitored. I want to check it on the way home tonight as well. Thanks, Jeff.
The second thing is, there's still a lot of chatter about switching to the form of government to mayoral. People have come to me, and there's all kinds of chatter on Facebook. People still feel marginalized. The council doesn't listen to them. This would be your perfect opportunity to do that. All it would take to put it on the referendum and let people decide. I mean, it's been 100 years. It wouldn't hurt one bit to reevaluate it and see what people want. The last council meeting, Darla, you said if one person wanted something, you'd fight for it. And put your money where your mouth is. So that being said, there's enough push out there for that to happen, and it's something to look into. It could, you guys as a body have the power to do that and for the April election if you do it quickly. And it's something to look into and think about. Thank you.
Jeff. Anyone else? See no one else, we'll go to council communications, letters and other communications from citizens. Anyone have anything? Yes, Adam.
Something brought up to me over the weekend, or I think actually late last week, I brought it up to Greg, was the winter parking, which has been set aside for now because we have no snow. And it sounds like the city manager and police chief will monitor that from time to time, depending on any big snow accumulations that are expected in the forecast. So that is not in abeyance right now. Or being held in abeyance, I should say. My bad.
Anything else? See nothing else. On to 8, council reports from boards, commissions, and committees. Anyone have anything? Darla?
Environmental Advisory Board, nothing new to really report. For Main Street, we're going to be talking about the Christmas parade, and I know Greg is going to cover that. Other than that, we're kind of wrapping up the season and just starting to plan for next year.
So, anyone else? I do have one. Make sure I get the right name. The BID and the CDA met last week, Tuesday, specifically talking more about the subdivision for Phase 3 at Sandy Bay Highlands. We did vote and received 32 plats. We also discussed making sure that all the proceeds from those lot sales will pay back what we are borrowing for those, and everyone was in agreement with that. And if there is any planned special discount on lots, which isn't anticipated, but if there would be later in the future, that would be something that will come back before City Council. So they are way aware of it and can help make that decision. Okay, anything else? Otherwise, on to City Manager's report. Greg.
Very good. Again, moment of silence earlier, and just there's not much you can say as a community to fill the void that's left by the loss of a child, but I would certainly, again, give a shout out to all of the emergency response agencies that had people and equipment here in a hurry and worked in full cooperation with our city police and fire, and actually city parks and rec and public works, any number of public safety agencies, our own county, Brown County, City of Green Bay, City of De Pere, PD, Brilliant, State Patrol, and DCI from the state, as well as the Warden Service, DNR, and other agencies. So on behalf of the community at large, thank you to all those agencies turning out for what obviously ended up to be a tragic event. But as a community, we should be reassured that those kind of resources, again, we've seen made available so very quickly. For tonight's, for my report for tonight, on the staffing front, the applications have closed for the full-time position of Police Department Evidence Custodian. Those are under review currently. City Manager search, per council action on November 18. The search consultant has been selected. I expect they'll begin engagement with the 4-member committee of City Council. It's been designated as the Recruitment and Selection Committee in January, with a goal of filling the position by July of 2025. We are out advertising again currently for the City Planner and Community Development Director position. So that's all I have for updates in that area. Thank you to Two Rivers Main Street as organizers, to every hardy soul that was a volunteer that turned out for the parade. Clearly the weather diminished the number of parade entries and kind of cut down on crowd size along the parade route. You never know. Some years it's 40 degrees, some years it's 0 wind chills. But thank you to everybody that brightened up the downtown. I think if you look close, you see our former Deputy City Clerk, Lisa, in a reindeer costume with her husband, Carl, there in the lower right, in his antique fire truck. But lots of great entries from local businesses and organizations. Just a reminder, haven't had to do it yet, but a reminder of the ordinance requirements for clearing snow and ice from sidewalks. That's within 24 hours after the snow ceases to fall. And on corner lots, the ordinance does specify that snow is to be removed down to the bottom of the ramp, down at the gutter line. If you fail to do that upon 24 hours notice, the city can remove the snow and ice, and bill for the cost of such removal. and for the second or any subsequent violations of this ordinance within any winter period, within any period of November 1 through April 30, in addition to the cost of cleanup, the property owner can be subject to a forfeiture of $150 plus court costs. Not the city's goal to raise revenue in that manner. It's meant to be a deterrent and meant to keep the sidewalks in town safe for walking. And again, we'd remind folks, because you see it every year, blowing or depositing snow or ice in the street is against the law. And likewise, putting it on your neighbor's property without their permission, especially if you blow it up against their windows, is against the law. And there are fines for that. Again, we all live together in neighborhoods, so keep your snow on your property, please. Oh, and we do ask that, thank you. Thank you, Tim. Councilmember Petrie points out, we do encourage people to clear out their neighborhood fire hydrants, because in the event the fire department gets called to your neighborhood, it's a whole lot better if the hydrant is cleared. Yeah, and corners as well. Yep, because it doesn't do any good to have sidewalks everywhere if you have to climb Mount Everest at the corners. So that's why that part of the code is there. Would remind folks that city council candidacy packets are available for pickup at the city clerk's office. December 1 was the first day for council candidates to circulate nomination papers for the 2025 spring election, when there will be 3 seats on the city council up. Nomination papers must be filed with the clerk's office by 5 p.m. on Tuesday, January 7. There would only be the need for a February primary if there were 7 or more. More than 6. More than 6, which often works out to 7 or more candidates who file candidacy papers. So if it's less than 7, all those up to 6 candidates go straight to the April ballot. So that we're in that season again. Good time to meet your neighbors in the vestibule at Pick and Save, or going door to door, or however you do it, for the requisite 100 signatures. Councilmember Husky mentioned this earlier. By ordinance, the winter parking ban applies from December 1 through March 15. Consistent with practice in recent years, we are getting the word out that enforcement's being held in abeyance until at least there's a likelihood of a serious snowfall in the forecast. Council may choose to change it in the future, but again, Two Rivers doesn't do snow emergencies. The assumption is that people expect there's a ban unless it's waived. That seems to have worked pretty well for us the last several winters, and there've been really just a handful of days that the ban was in effect. So you don't need to be parking those cars in the front lawn or trying to figure out how to fit them all in the driveway just yet. But be ready, because something tells us, Mother Nature will catch up with us one of these days. The scattered location-led water service lateral replacement work being done by Mammoth Construction under contract awarded by the council last summer is going on as of the end of last week. 53 public water services had been replaced, 32 public side sewer laterals replaced, 3 private water services replaced, and 1 private sewer lateral replaced. It appears on the area where they're starting, which is basically 32nd, 33rd, 34th Streets between Tannery and Adams. Generally, there are copper services outside the right-of-way, a lot of lead services under the right-of-way. I don't know the history of how that area developed, if maybe the streets went in with the lateral stubbed out, and then was the passage of a few years before people built their houses. Maybe some of them had galvanized services that have already had to be replaced, but by and large, so far, it's been public side services. It's noted there that no additional pavement replacement is expected this year due to weather conditions. You don't want to be pouring concrete patches. And right now, no service replacements are expected this week due to weather and frost. We'll keep an eye on it. This overall contract, if I'm recalling correctly, requires completion of all of this work, which is up to 300 services by the end of June. To the extent we have ARPA money, which is paying for a lot of this, American Rescue Plan Act money, that has to be fully expended by the end of next year. So not sure what the current weather patterns are going to mean for this project, but we'll keep you updated on that. And feel free if there's any questions, Matt can answer them, or Andrew. The Sandy Bay Highlands, Council President, again, Scott and Shannon both serve on the CDA and BIDC as the council reps. In terms of project construction, the water, sanitary sewer, and storm sewer mains and connecting laterals stubbed out to the lots have been installed on the first stretch of Orchard Lane going north from Lake Breeze to Raleigh Court and west for the length of the Raleigh Court cul-de-sac to serve those lots. Some grading and graveling has been completed on Orchard Lane just north of Lake Breeze. We anticipate that storm sewer, the remainder of grading and graveling will happen in that area. The storm sewer is already in. And then the contractor hopes to continue plugging away at the remaining utility and grading and graveling further north on Orchard Lane in early December. Again, right now there's maybe 6-8 inches of frost in the ground, but we'll see how much farther it is as time goes on. On the lot marketing and sales front, kind of repeating some of the things that Scott reported, the CDA last Tuesday night voted to accept the deed of the phase 3 lots from the city, 32 lots, 28 of which will be served with the infrastructure we talked about. They approved covenants for phase 3, which are largely like the phase 2 covenants, but with some changes. They approved the lot pricing structure, again, consistent with the council's direction on cost recovery. They authorized a listing contract with the current realtor, Amy Townsend, through March 31 of 2025, but also directed that an RFP for realtor be issued for the period beginning April 1, and that will happen. That'll be back in front of the CDA in January, February. They also approved exclusions to the listing contract, providing that there were exclusions available to the city or CDA for the sale of any lots to licensed home builders who proposed construction of spec homes on the lots, and that this would apply to any lots in the first 2 price tiers, which I think is 9 lots in the lower price tiers out of a range of 54.9 to 74.9, and that would apply if those contracts were entered into prior to January 15. So we're reaching out to folks that have done spec homes or shown interest in spec homes in the subdivision. And I can tell you we've got somebody waiting on the listing to be official, because I think it sounds like we've already got our first buyer for one of the phase 3 lots. So here's hoping the momentum continues along over there. And we'll let you know as soon as Orchard Lane up to and including Raleigh Court is drivable. That'd be nice, so people can go out there and kick the tires, even if they do want to get back in their car by the heater real quick. West River Lofts, we did get word as staff in early November that Scott Crawford Inc. Will be returning the low-income housing tax credits that were awarded for the West River Lofts project and pursuing other options and partnerships for the site. In mid-November, they provided a statement to share with council and the community that due to a change in partnership, Scott Crawford Inc. has made the strategic decision to reconfigure our work on the West River Lofts. We still anticipate housing and commercial development, but have to adjust the project to meet current market conditions. They express that they appreciate our patience and understanding as they navigate these changes and are looking forward to more details, sharing more details in the next few weeks. So obviously a disappointment. There's been a whole heck of a lot of staff time and work at this council and plan commission that have gone into the project. We know there was some continuing issues with the brownfield nature of the project. And at this point, a developer has purchased the development site, and we'll see where it goes from there. It's frankly a shame. It remains a high priority redevelopment site as it has been since 2010. So that's unfortunately where things stand. Electric utility reminds folks that annual tree trimming this season on the east side, east of the East Twin River, will start shortly. Brian, when do you expect that? Mid-December, we're looking at for a start now, and that will run into March of next year. And this map is available as far as looking forward to where they'll be hitting next, which will basically be the south side in November of next year. Like to thank the Parks and Rec Department for organizing and publicizing, all the volunteers, local families, companies, not-for-profit civic groups that have made Central Park East kind of a magic place the last week or so. 30 trees out there. I think 28 out of the 30 spoken for, are decorated and lit and staying upright, even with the winds we've had. First ever Cool City Christmas tree display, which will continue to beautify Central Park through the holidays, through the Christmas and New Year's holidays. Congratulations to the top prize-winning entries. First place, the Leicester Public Library with their themed display, not surprisingly, with a lot of books and a reading-related theme. Second place to Metalware with a very cool display of metal component parts and kind of a robotic head on their tree, their silvery tree. Third place to the Mathis family with their fishing themed tree. And again, thanks to everyone who's participated. There were some folks out there really having a great time. I stopped out a week ago Saturday. There was a local Girl Scout troop, and they had a table set up with hot chocolate and treats. They twisted my arm, so I had some of that, and just the kids having a great time. And special thanks to an area business that's always been a generous sponsor, whether it's for 4th of July fireworks or this time with a very generous donation of 30 trees for this first ever event. And that's our friends just up the road at Sprang's Trees and Wreaths for their generous donation. So way cool. If you get a chance, and it's going to be a little warmer tomorrow night, get out there and walk around. It's an impressive display. Leicester Library has some upcoming events that may be of interest to you. Their series on shipwrecks of the Great Lakes and Great Lakes history has been very well attended. The next one coming up is a special Christmas tree ship concert. We all know that the Rouse Simmons went to the bottom of Lake Michigan off Raleigh Point, probably the most storied shipwreck on the Great Lakes back in 1912. And storyteller and musician Lee Murdoch will be singing songs and telling stories of Lake Michigan and specifically the three-masted schooner Rouse Simmons. Also, as Darla mentioned, the EAB educational series continues on December 12th with the Manitowoc County. I'm sorry. That's wrong. That's right. I think you might have mentioned that previously. Okay. Okay. There's not a December program.
No, there is not.
Okay. Skip that. Check out the shipwrecks. Don't worry about the soil and water thing. Sorry about that. Over at Hamilton Woodtype, the Hamilton Woodtype and Printing Museum, they have a holiday letter press workshop. Real cool opportunity to print custom, unique wrapping paper, develop holiday themed gifts or other items. So maybe even greeting cards. You can contact the Woodtype Museum for more information on that. I'm not going to go through all the details, but we're all looking forward to the second annual Cool City Christmas, Saturday, December 14, downtown and centering around Central Park and the Community House, 10 a.m. to 3:30 p.m. Santa and his reindeer, again, in the park. Mrs. Claus tends to hang out over at Washington House because she's smart and knows where it's warm. There's the Rotary tent where there'll be supplies to do holiday crafts and get the ingredients for s'mores that you can make over fires in the park. Get your face painted by the Two Rivers High School Art Club. Our Two Rivers Police Department K-9 officers will be there, and over 40 vendors set up in the Community House gym and Behringer Room. There, I almost read the whole thing, but the idea is get around the downtown, enjoy some special holiday music, and get in the holiday spirit. You can't do it all sitting at the computer doing Black Friday and Cyber Monday. This is for real in our downtown with real people. Likewise, especially if you have any youngsters in your family, or Breakfast with Santa, hosted by the Two Rivers Fire Department and our firefighters, Sunday, December 15. That's 9:30 to 11:30 over at the fire station. And we suggest strongly that you stop by prior to the event over at the fire station, or you can try at the event that day. Again, thank you to sponsors, IAFF Local 423, our Firefighters Association, and Fox Communities Credit Union. The Explore Two Rivers and the city's tourism director are working hard to prepare for the NFL draft, both as a community and in partnership with our neighbors in Manitowoc. And Explore Two Rivers, working with Discover Green Bay, is hosting a session. Actually, Joe, do you want to offer a few comments on this? And I know you've been attending some of the meetings on the draft, and it's generating a lot of excitement in the area. I'll come up for air and ask you to come to the mic.
It was announced at the Fall Conference on Tourism 2 weeks ago in Appleton for the state that Discover Green Bay was reaching out to both Northeast Wisconsin communities and the state of Wisconsin, offering assistance to be able to help us as small communities or maybe bigger communities be prepared for the NFL draft. So before that meeting was done, shot an email off to the director of Discover Green Bay to see if we could have an opportunity to have them, or at least one of their staff members, come and give a presentation to our community. We got an immediate response back, and the timing was great because we host this event on December 16th, and they're releasing kind of a roadmap to get ready for the draft on either Wednesday or Thursday the week before. So we'll have hard copies of that. We'll be sharing that with anybody in attendance. And Nick, their president or vice president of marketing and communications, will be our guest speaker for that. And then I'll have a FAQ sheet that is handed out to everybody in attendance as well. What are we doing locally to help promote that? What resources can we provide to those local businesses, as well as community members who might have an interest or might feel that there's an impact on the local community for that week-long event almost. So more to come, actually quite a bit more to come, but this is the first step in a good direction.
Northeast Wisconsin going to sort of be the center of the football universe for that event in April. The Two Rivers Public Schools has asked that we share their invitation to the community for a ribbon cutting ceremony and tour of the new and remodeled facilities at L.B. Clark Elementary. That is on Tuesday, December 10 at 6 p.m. That's the one that includes the ribbon cutting. They will be offering open house and tours again January 24th at 11 a.m. and 2 p.m. I should mention December 10th is at 6 p.m. So an opportunity to check out the new and remodeled facilities and the community's investment in its public schools. Wanted to share, I'd missed it when I put the agenda together, but we do want to acknowledge the new police department patrol car graphics. This updates the department's graphics, both for the patrol vehicles and ultimately the officers' patches for the first time in about 30 years. They're implementing this new look with considerable input from the department, with a nod to the department's history and to the elements that are included in both the old and new versions of the city logo. You see that familiar lighthouse and boat in the water. And yes, one seagull aloft are in the new logo on the police cars. Kudos to the efforts internally within the department that involved folks from throughout the department. Thank you to Lakeshore Sign and Graphic. This was a very cost-effective effort. I know there's been some questions out there in the community. Nothing's free, but this was developed at a cost of less than $500 to develop the design and get it approved through the department. And it's worth noting that compared to the black and whites, which have a fair amount of vinyl applied to them, the cost per vehicle will actually be a little bit less than the black and whites. And I'll add, I think from a lot of folks' perspective, a lot more popular than the stealthy black vehicles. So this highly visible, but a new, fresh look for the department. And thank you to Chief Meinert and everybody in the department who participated, and the good folks at Lakeshore Sign and Graphics. So less than a $500 investment in the public image the department presents to the community. I did want to comment, and I'd ask our city attorney, we have Andrew Adams on the line tonight, watching our meeting and able to participate. Council members did over the weekend receive, as did I, an email from a citizen regarding agenda language on closed sessions. The email did specifically point to the November 18 council meeting minutes, where one of the reasons or bases for going into closed session was noted as Wisconsin Statutes 19.85, Parent 1G, which is conferring with legal counsel for the governing body. Andrew can read the rest of it from the statute probably if you want. That was an item that was not, or that statutory reference was not printed on the agenda for that meeting. However, our city attorney who was joining us for that meeting, Sean, did note that he would like to have that discussion with council in closed session, in as much as it was a closed session listed on the agenda. I believe he made the statutory cite prior to the council then voting on it. So I think the minutes, as I look at them, should be corrected to state in some manner the anticipated subject for the closed session under that section of the law, which was advising the council on matters pertaining to the open meetings law, including walking quorums, and as an area of potential litigation. We can either, when you get to those minutes on the agenda tonight, either council could choose to amend them here or refer them, table them so they can be brought back with that added in written form. But I think the council went in properly as advised by legal counsel, but that reference, the statutory reference is there in the minutes, but there's no stated reason. And that's something that needs to be addressed. There was also a comment regarding the agenda for the upcoming November 6th Room Tax Commission meeting. That agenda does list as the first item of business after call to order and roll call, consideration of going into closed session per Wisconsin statutes. Again, one of the exceptions that allows public bodies to go into closed session, in this case, 19.851E, which reads deliberating or negotiating the purchasing of public properties, the investment of public funds, or conducting other specified public business whenever competitive or bargaining reasons, should be an S there, require a closed session. On this one, in addition to the statutory citation, the agenda states what I think is a very specific reason for the closed session, and it reads that it is to discuss terms for a possible contract with Explore Two Rivers, Inc. for tourism promotion and tourism development services. I conferred with our city attorneys on this today, and Andrew can speak to it, but I feel they concur, as I feel, that the notice as presented does meet the requirements of the open meetings law. This is a proposed contract with between the Room Tax Commission and Explore Two Rivers, Inc., which is a separate 501c3. There are C6. There are points of negotiation relative to the agreement, points where there have been dialogue between two members of the Room Tax Commission, a non-quorum, that have been assigned to meet with two members of the Explore Two Rivers Board, again, a non-quorum of that body, to discuss points. And I think it would be quite instructive to the Room Tax Commission as it considers putting forward a proposed agreement to Explore Two Rivers to have this conferring with city attorney in closed session. There's a third point, but I'm going to pause for a minute. Andrew, could you speak to each of these points, A and B, if you have those in front of you?
Yes, so, A and B?
Yep.
I'm not seeing A and B on the agenda here.
Oh, are you viewing? Do you have access to the PowerPoint I'm showing? Perhaps not.
I guess I'm missing the PowerPoint. I will shift to the PowerPoint here.
Okay,
Sorry.
that's all right.
I was following along with
The agenda, I'm sorry, yeah, it's a
The agenda
multimedia
is,
kind of thing. If you have access and are viewing the meeting on our live stream.
we got it.
Yep.
So I can talk certainly about this, the closed session rules. I'm sorry, I'm not seeing this point A and B here. I don't know why I'm missing that, but the closed session rules in particular, starting with the notice given in the agenda for Friday, discussing terms for possible contract. There is not a good specific, set minimum, maximum amount of information that needs to be put in any sort of agenda like this. And so in order to protect, it's not only, of course, the, city council's ability to bargain and to decide on the terms of negotiation. It's also protecting, the people of Two Rivers' money here. We're looking at what exactly to do with room tax funds and how to handle those. And in a contract, the terms that are the subject of that contract it's all part of that negotiation. And to discuss those, it needs to be in closed session in order to protect the city's powers of negotiation, of bargaining, and to maintain its competitive abilities in that. Is there another point you'd like me to address on that?
Yeah,
Well, Mr. Buckley, I think he also says that according to him, the Room Tax Commission closed session on their agenda, it can't be the first thing listed on the agenda. Is there any requirements that a government body can't list a closed session first on the agenda?
So perfect. Thank you so much. Here we go. So as far as the first item of business, it's clearly not. So on the agenda, and I know this might sound technical, but if you want to get into the nitty gritty of open meetings law, it's all technical. The first thing is a call to order, and then we have a roll call. We open up the meeting in an open session, and then the third item, close executive session. Before that can happen, there needs to be a motion. There needs to be consideration of moving into that closed session. So it's not the first item, and it can't be the first item because there needs to be that motion, there needs to be the discussion, and the meeting needs to be open first. And that's clearly what is shown on the agenda. So that's what has happened here. That's what the city has done is followed the law to the letter. So I'm not sure what that point is meant to be, other than it appears to be a misunderstanding of the law.
I think there's some guidance I've seen out there, and it says the same thing that the city attorney just said, but that effectively you can't simply convene a meeting in closed session, even if a closed session is the only item on the agenda. You can't say, we're having a meeting and it's in closed session from the get-go. No, there's a call to order, there's a roll call to make sure you've got a quorum, and there's a motion made, which is subject to debate and can get an up or down vote to go into closed. And so that is exactly what's anticipated on Friday's Room Tax Commission agenda. And like you often see on city council agendas, where our closed sessions are most typically at the tail end of the meeting, there is specific language indicating an intent, the possibility on reconvening an open to take action on the matter discussed in closed. Now, in this particular case, the meeting agenda does go on to include the tourism director's report, consideration of the 2025 budget for the Room Tax Commission, and consideration of proposed contracts to explore Two Rivers. So clearly there's a regular meeting agenda after the closed session that is the first item of business to be considered after convening. So that's that one. So as far as I'm concerned, we're fine on Friday, but in light of the concerns raised, I certainly wanted to address it with our city attorneys. And again, Andrew, I don't know, you'd have to go to either Facebook or to our YouTube page to log into the meeting where my PowerPoint is now being broadcast. But
Mr. Powell's actually pulled it up for me.
It is. Okay, wonderful. Thank you, Rick.
He's taking care of it, so I do appreciate that very much.
So this third concern I've noted was, I think, a bit more generic, but an expression that reasons cited for going into closed session on the November 18 agenda were too vague, and those were specifically under 19851C to discuss possible property acquisition, discuss possible assistance to a development project, and discuss matters pertaining to a property sale agreement. I can only say, as I pointed out to our city attorneys, we've used that language historically at meetings with the city attorney in attendance, not pointing out any concerns or problems. That may sound a little defensive, but it hasn't been done without the prior city attorney's knowledge. And there are, I think arguably that language is adequate in most cases. But again, I'm not the attorney. I'll defer to Andrew on point C.
So it is our position that this language is adequate, and while we could certainly add some more without, giving up the competitive position of the city and the bargaining power, all those pieces that are spoken about in the statute, that it can be somewhat important to keep these a little bit vague in order to protect those stated interests that we are allowed to protect in the statute. So, for example, discussing possible property acquisition. Well, discussing possible property acquisition, if the city were to come out and specifically state discussing the possible property acquisition of 123 Sesame Street for the explicit purpose of building a rock climbing wall. That would be giving away a lot of information so that somebody could take advantage of that and cost the taxpayers a lot of money by buying the property and jacking up the price and making it impossible for the city to get in there and do what it wants to do for the people of Two Rivers. So in cases like this, discussing possible property acquisition is plenty of information here. Discussing possible assistance to a development project. Likewise, if there's competition to draw a developer between multiple municipalities, multiple bodies, that's definitely enough for the statute, because with more information, the city starts eroding its own position. Same thing, matters pertaining to a property sale agreement. It's a negotiation. You're in the middle of a back and forth. This is what the city is doing. It is discussing these matters. It's a property sale agreement can be highly competitive and contested, and to give more information may give away the city's position in a way that 1985 sub 1 sub E allows the city to protect. So that's why these are vague. And while we'll talk about possibly making them a little bit more detailed, I'm not going to advise that the city, and Sean won't either, start giving big, long lists of reasons why we're going into closed session, because the more detailed we get, the more we take our own feet out from under us in those bargaining positions.
Hopefully that's helpful. If council members have questions and follow-up and want them addressed, say at a work session in the future, there is sort of, I think, part of what you're hearing from the city attorney with regard to property and development matters, sort of a natural tension between the public's right and desire to know more fully what the council is discussing and the council's responsibility as stewards of the public purse to not be creating any situations that act to the disadvantage of the city as an entity. Typically, if those discussions result in an agreement, a property purchase agreement, a development agreement to assist someone, say, locating at our industrial park or something else, there's going to be a public vote on it duly noticed at that point in time. So I don't want to, overplay this one, but I thought it warranted some discussion, especially as it relates to a specific upcoming agenda. So thank you. And again, feel free to be in touch with me or the city attorney if you have further questions on that. That wraps up my report for the meeting, again with a great picture. Isn't it amazing how kudos to Parks and Rec on some really great tree stands and securing those trees, because if they've stood up during the winds and wild weather we've had, I think they'll hold up for the season.
Greg, the wood bases were.
Very good. And it did look like that Mathis family tree had some ornaments blown off in that. So check it out there. Very good. And Rick, I will at a point later in the meeting just be bringing up a slide when the city council talks about the tax levy resolution. So I'll just need to switch back at that point. Thank you. That's my report.
Okay, thank you, Greg. On to the consent agenda. Under A, we have City Council regular meeting from November 18th, 2024. The recommended action will be a motion to waive reading and adopt the minutes. Under B, we have minutes of meeting. There are 4. We have Committee on Aging from November 4th, 2024. Architectural Control Committee from November 19th, 2024. Business and Industrial Development Committee, Community Development Authority, November 26th, 2024, and Police and Fire Commission from November 14th, 2024. The recommended action will be a motion to receive and file. Under C, we have applications and petitions. Under number 1, we have a new Class B license for Bujar LLC for 3917 Lincoln Avenue for Drita Bakuri, agent business formerly known as Mahut Supper Club. The recommended action will be a motion to approve the application and authorize issuance of the license. The recommended action for the consent agenda will be a motion to approve the consent agenda with the various actions recommended, including adding to the city council regular meeting notes, the text describing why we went into closed session for 19.851G, which was to confer with legal counsel about compliance with open meetings law pursuant to potential litigation. Looking for that motion. Thank you, Ani. Anyone second? Thank you, Shannon. Any council discussion? Seeing none, this will be an all in favor. Indicate by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? No one opposed. Motion carried. Thank you. To number 11, City Council formal items. Under A, we have agreement with Blue Heron Condo Association regarding provision of certain city services within that private condominium development.
Okay.
Greg.
This item is back in front of the city council. I would welcome Bob Boutnick and Chris LaFawn from the board over at the Blue Heron Condo Association. We've gone back and forth for a bit on this agreement, which does identify a limited bundle of services that the city would provide for the private utilities and utilizing the private streets within the Blue Heron Condo Association. In many regards, the precedent for this has been set with other agreements related to routine flushing of water and sewer mains that the city has with other condo associations with private infrastructure in the city. This agreement breaks new ground in a couple of areas. The first is that the city proposed, and the agreement in front of you includes doing what I'd call a baseline video inspection of the sanitary sewers, the private mains in the development. That first video inspection would be at city expense and done within 18 months of the agreement being approved. The second area, which was breaking new ground, if you will, is for fall leaf collection alongside the private roadways within the association. That is not provided for in our other agreements with area condo associations. Don't be surprised if we're back with amendments to those in the future. I think it's fair to say, and these folks may want to speak to it tonight, the one area that's been a sticking point for a little bit now is paragraph 4 related to that initial video inspection of the sanitary sewer mains. We had representatives of the Blue Heron Board in for a Personnel and Finance Committee meeting in October. This language was focused on. One point that was made at that meeting, and actually was our council president who was in attendance and observing that the intent is that this be a 10-year agreement and would be subject to presumably renegotiation at the end of its term. So That combined with our Public Works Director, Matt Heckenleibel's statement that best practice as far as reinspection of sanitary sewers for a relatively new system with plastic mains like exists at Blue Heron would be to do it every 10 years. So if you're doing it within a year and a half into a 10-year agreement, there really shouldn't be the necessity for mandating a second inspection during that 10-year agreement. So the proposed language in front of you, again, I can't say that if Blue Heron agrees with it or not, but at this point, I'm recommending that we get this agreement inked and finalized, but that there be that initial inspection done by the city or a contractor hired by the city, just like we do videos of other public sanitary sewers in the city. A copy of that be provided to the association, and that as shown in the sentences added, for those of you looking at the red line, as the last sentence of paragraph 4, the city shall not be responsible for any additional such inspections during the term of this agreement or during any of the automatic 1-year extensions that are addressed in section 16B. I guess the inherent message there is if there's an interest in securing another city-funded inspection, that could be done in the context of a new agreement. So that is in there. The city attorney, on further review of the agreement, did recommend the addition of one sentence, and that's in the version of this agreement I handed out tonight. Sorry, I probably didn't need to give you the whole thing again, but that is on page 2 of the handout. And the suggested language to be added would be, it is agreed that the city shall have no obligations regarding the maintenance or repair of the sanitary sewer system within the development beyond what is expressly stated in this agreement. Sorry, the highlighting should have ended right there in this agreement. I think that's well, and would suggest that the city council approve the agreement as went out in the packets to you with that one additional sentence. I would further propose, and I shot this back to the city attorney late this afternoon, that language might better be inserted as a new paragraph 5, because it applies to any of the enumerated responsibilities of the city relative to the sewer system, and that all the subsequent sections then be renumbered. If that makes sense to you, that the statement that it's agreed the city shall have no obligations, etc., would be its own paragraph number 5, and that would bump everything beyond that out by 1. I know Councilmember Wahusky, I think going maybe in follow-up to that Personnel Finance Committee meeting, did have some questions about paragraph or section 16, notably 16B, which does say if neither party to the agreement notifies the other of an intent not to renew the agreement at least 120 days in advance of its 10-year anniversary, and likewise, if we haven't negotiated a new agreement, then this agreement would be automatically extended for an additional 1-year term. The intent there, while the parties would retain the ability to cancel the agreement with 120 days written notice, the intent there, I believe, is to avoid a whoops where either by the city's oversight and or Blue Heron's oversight, the agreement hits the 10-year anniversary. We're not proposing to take away the city's commitment to flushing water and sewer mains, responding in the event of an emergency, that sort of thing. Adam's question had been, wasn't there some state legislation in the recent past prohibiting or limiting those automatic renewal provisions? Andrew can speak to that, but I believe that's solely in the context of consumer contracts, especially if the consumer isn't given advance notice of that. But Andrew, you want to speak to that from a lawyer standpoint?
You said it. So it really only applies to consumer contracts, and even that automatic renewals are not. It's not like they were outlawed. It just added additional notice requirements as you approach that renewal. If you're in a contract with a consumer, an individual, then you need to notice, give them notice that the renewal is coming up. That doesn't apply here because it's between a municipality and was it HOA, or condo association, so that's not applicable.
With that, and I don't know if, if either of the Blue Heron reps had any comments, but I would better hear if you have any questions. I guess they're indicating no specific comment. Again, I'm assuming there'll be reasonable folks sitting on the city council and on the Blue Heron board 10 years out that can revisit this. But that language, and frankly, as a practical matter, we usually try to avoid evergreen contracts, so that kind of a gotcha renewal. And I would have concerns if we were talking about an automatic 5 or 10 year extension. But since it's only a year at a time and each party still retains the ability to terminate upon 120 days notice, and the city's liability is limited in the manner stated here, I don't see a lot of downside for the city or the association out of that.
So the one thing though you want to change is the part in yellow. Make
Right,
that
the
number
first
5.
sentence in yellow, sorry, I got too ambitious
Yep.
with my highlighter, but that first sentence in yellow, instead of being inserted in the middle of paragraph 4, become a new paragraph 5, and the subsequent numbered sections be renumbered accordingly.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Then we're looking for a motion to also authorize the city manager and city clerk to sign the agreement on behalf of the city after changes are made to move the first sentence highlighted in yellow, move that to number 5, and then renumber everything else.
So moved.
Thank you, Darla. Second by Bonnie. Any council discussion?
Yeah,
Yeah, Bonnie.
I just have a few things that they're kind of picky about words. I don't know what difference it would make, but I thought I'd bring them up. Like point number 8. Well, I wanted to make sure, I didn't understand number 9, point number 9. But before we come to that, I just saw it, now I can't find it. Oh, on B, it says, agreement shall similarly be automatically extended for 1-year terms thereafter if such notice to not renew. It's notice to notice. I
Oh.
mean, I don't know how picky I'm being, but it
Oh.
just seems like your words should be sensible.
I'm sorry, that should read notice to not renew. You're right,
Yeah.
there's a redundancy there. So the words, after the first word notice, the words to notice should be deleted. So it would read, if such notice to not renew is not provided. Well, that was a good catch, Bonnie. Sorry about that. At least 120 days in advance. Yeah.
I guess that's really it, because point 4, I had been looking at also, but you fixed it.
And we don't have to deal with the language about the city having no liability if it fails in the future to do timely inspections, because the agreement provides for one. So, whole lot simpler.
Anything else? Anything else?
No.
Good. Yes, Mark.
So if we assign and agree to this and vote on it, is this acceptable now, Blue Heron? Does this end the issue? We don't have to wait for them to can try
I
to
know
change-
their board would have to authorize signature. I don't know, Bob, if. Okay,
Okay.
so Mr. Boutnick indicates
we
that the
can
board
bury this and
is
move on.
supportive of
So
their president or other officers signing. Thank you.
I agree with everything in it. I think it's fair. It doesn't cost the city any extra money. We're just providing services to a very important part of our community. You pay a lot in taxes and everything else. Not giving you anything special. We're just providing a service for you.
Thank you for your patience too.
Anyone else? See no one else? This will be a roll call vote. Amanda?
Doug Brandt,
Aye.
Tim Petrie, Bonnie Shimalunas,
Aye.
Scott Steckmeister,
Aye.
Adam Mahusky,
Aye.
Darla Leclerc, Mark Bittner,
Aye.
Shannon Derby,
Aye.
Bill Leclerc,
Aye.
all in favor.
Okay, thank you all for that. On to B, resolution adopting the general fund budgets for the fiscal year ending December 31st, 2025. Greg.
Yes, the first of several budget resolutions in front of you is for the general fund budget. This is as recommended by the Personnel and Finance Committee and as reviewed by council last Monday, which is the same night as public hearing. It does call for total spending up 3.48% over the 2024 budget. That's within our expenditure restraint cap of 3.7%. I would note that it anticipates, the overall budget anticipates total taxes received by the city for general fund plus debt service plus library, the three places we apply property taxes, to equal what was collected from the community last year. I would mention though, both as it relates to the general fund budget and the tax rates, which are a separate resolution. I wouldn't be doing my job if I didn't point out that the city does have some headroom under the levy limits currently. The current budget, there is the ability at council's discretion to levy an additional $45,018. And under a provision in the law that allows the city to carry forward unused levy capacity from last year, it was also $65,887 of levy capacity available from the prior year. Now, if I understand it right, next year, a council seated at this point will have a new number on how much the levy can go up and would have the ability, if council doesn't do it this year, to reach back and address the 45,000, which then will be a prior year unused limit. We went into this budget with the goal, I think it was shared by the Personnel and Finance Committee, of not increasing the amount of taxes extracted from the community by the city because of the reval year. And this budget doesn't do that. Would it be prudent from a fiscal standpoint to be collecting a little bit more? You bet it would be. But that's a balancing act. At this point, the budget as presented does not provide for any increase in the city levy. So I just want to point out council does have that option, but that would probably have to follow simply an increase in revenues and budgeting for a small surplus, because we're already getting close to our levy, our expenditure limit on the spending side. So with that, this resolution would be for adoption of the general fund budget as presented. No
Okay.
tax increase, 3.48% increase in spending. No contingency either, as you know.
You're looking for that motion then?
So moved.
Thank you, Darla. Second by Doug. Any council discussion? Yes, Adam.
I will vote in favor. I'm not so sure that we should assume the bigger proposed revenues on the permits as we are. A little bit of a gamble in my opinion. Obviously no contingency. I'm not voting for an increase, as I think we've been increased enough, mainly due to the school system. I don't think the taxpayers here need to pay any more. But I wish that would have been cited, I guess, probably earlier in the budget process versus just last week, but that's where we're at. But I just want it to be noted that I'm not very big on that, increasing those by bigger than proposed revenues when we first started the budget. I don't know that we'll meet those.
Bid issues.
Mm-hmm. Correct.
I was and it was oversight. We have to do it somewhere, and logical. Try to reach it. It's everything in this budget.
I don't think we're increasing the fees.
That's not been proposed at this
No,
point.
it's not
We probably should look at our
The
fees. We haven't
fees
for a
will
while.
increase as a result. I mean,
Oh, the fees are not
number
increasing.
of dollars collected, hopefully it will increase.
Yeah,
Basically, yeah, it's an estimate.
right.
We have to make it,
I don't disagree, and I'm not minimizing it, but it's $10,000 out of a $12.5 million budget. And I understand Adam said he would support it with that regret or, caveat, but open for suggestions. It's $10,000 out of a $12.5 million budget.
Anyone else? Okay, see nothing, this will be a roll call vote. Amanda?
Tim Petrie,
Aye.
Bonnie Shibilunis,
Aye.
Scott Steckmeiser,
Aye.
Adam Mahusky,
Aye.
Darla Leclerc,
Aye.
Mark Bittner,
aye.
Shannon Derby, Bill Leclerc,
Aye.
Doug Brandt,
Aye.
all in favor.
Okay, on to C, resolution adopting budgets for other funds for fiscal year ending December 31st, 2025.
Okay, I handed out a markup of this resolution. There are several dollars are minor, but several errors in here, and this one is on me. It's not on our finance director. I was, when I reviewed this, well, I had not supplied her with the revised budget file based on, I think the last discussion we had at Personnel and Finance, where there were some minor cuts and changes on capital projects. So if you want to hold page 38 and 39 of your agenda pack next to this one, and just reference the highlighted numbers. Street construction, down $25,000. That's the reduction associated with cutting from 75, down by 25,000. That's from reducing from 75,000 to 50,000, the proposed money for improvements to the pavement at the waysides along Memorial Drive. Should have been 50. I had left the 75 in here. Parks and Cemetery Construction Fund, $668,500 to $655,500. We had agreed to apply $13,000 worth of, $10,000 worth of work at Vietnam Veterans Park to TID number 11 to also carry over $3,000 in unspent capital funding and apply it to this. So that would reduce the Park and Cemetery Construction Fund new appropriation by $13,000. So instead of $668,500, it should be $655,500. Public Works Equipment Fund. It was agreed to reduce the borrowing and spending for improvements done at the Public Works Garage from a total of $500,000 to $475,000. Somehow I made an error there and reduced it by 20, so this takes out the remaining 5. So the corrected number, $510,223. That results in an adjustment in the subtotal for capital project funds as shown of about $43,000 reduced. And then there's one correction to the special revenue funds for TIF number 11. And that is adding $15,000 for drainage work at Vietnam Veterans Park to what was the original budget of $150 was simply to cover the annual report to the state, our annual TIF report. And I'm recommending that at 15 instead of 13 because the final numbers are in for the work that's been completed late this year. We would propose to charge it to the TIF budget for TIF 11. Which is the old CC case or the TIF that assisted Vinton Construction in renovating. That would be charged in the new budget year at $15,000. So that's why that one is up 15. And that, of course, makes for a $15,000 adjustment in the subtotal. Enterprise funds, as shown, total $17.6 million, no change there. And then, of course, a slight revision to the grand total shown on this resolution because of those changes we just walked through. With apologies for those errors, didn't catch them till this morning, would recommend approval of this resolution adopting the budgets for other funds.
Okay. Looking for a motion to do such.
So moved.
Thank you, Darla. Second by Doug. Any council discussion? Seeing none, this will be a roll call vote. Amanda?
Bonnie Shibilunis,
Aye.
Scott Steckmeiser,
Aye.
Adam Mahusky,
Aye.
Darla Leclerc, Mark Bittner, Shannon Derby,
Aye.
Bill Leclerc,
Aye.
Doug Brandt,
Aye.
Tim Petrie. All in favor.
Thank you all for that. On to D, resolution adopting the debt service fund budget for the fiscal year ending December 31st, 2025. Greg.
That is also a separate budget or a separate resolution in your packet, page 40. It anticipates a total spend for general obligation debt service of $3,067,849. This is for principal and interest payments on city general obligation debt. Most of that being paid out of the tax levy. That portion would correspond to the $2,674,000 shown over on the levy page. The balance that gets it up over 3 million consists of transfers in from other funds, such as the TIF funds that have GO debt they're responsible for, but that doesn't come straight out of the levy. Would recommend approval as presented.
Looking for that motion then to approve it. Thank you, Bonnie. Second by Shannon. Any council discussion? See nothing. This will be a roll call vote. Amanda?
Scott Steckmeister.
Aye.
Adam Mahusky.
Aye.
Darla Leclerc. Mark Bittner.
Aye.
Shannon Derby.
Aye.
Bill Leclerc.
Aye.
Doug Brandt.
Aye.
Tim Petrie.
Aye.
Bonnie Shimalunas.
Aye.
All in favor.
Thank you all. On to E, resolution adopting tax levy for the fiscal year ending December 31st, 2025. Greg.
Of course, this resolution lists all of the taxing entities that apply taxes to properties in the city of Two Rivers. The council really only has control over the top 3 lines listed here. The city levies for general fund debt service and the library. In total, what we have going to those 3 funds is unchanged from last year. These numbers are higher than the numbers you see flowing into each of those 3 budgets because, as the finance director pointed out at the budget hearing, these numbers are TID in. So this includes the portion that's grabbed, the portion of the levy that's captured by each of the active TIF districts and is not available for city operations, debt service, or library. So you see there rates that are applicable. I did want to share, and this was in the council's packets. Whoops. This was also in the council's packets, although not as colorful, when they went out on Friday. A lot of moving parts this year on the tax bill. We had a reval, and the average residential property went up by 94.4%. Your house might have gone up more, might have gone up less. Commercial and industrial properties went up by substantially less. I think they were both well under 50%. So that means even if your house went up, your residential property went up by the average of all residential properties, the residential class is carrying more of the tax burden because that's how property taxes work. They're based on your property value. So what I wanted to illustrate there is the total, and this is to make the math easy. If you had a house that was assessed in 2023 for $100,000, your assessment went up 94.4%, so it's now assessed at $194,400. What would your tax bill shake out as? Well, the City of Two Rivers portion of the bill, showing our adopted rates last year, this year. Obviously, all the rates are a lot lower because the base they're applied against is a lot bigger number. But the city tax bill for that hypothetical $100,000 assessed, now $194,400 assessed property will be up 6.32%, or about $72 from $1,144.80 to $1,217.14. Why did that go up? Not because the city's spending any more money, taking it out of your pockets as taxpayers, but because residential picked up more of the burden because that's the class of property that had the highest percent of increases. The same applies to each of the other taxing entities, that shift. But of course, with the Two Rivers Public Schools, there is a considerably larger levy in dollar terms for this year. I believe that's largely attributable to the referendum, the bond issue that was approved by voters. So our best projection for that once $100,000 house, now $194,000 house, is the school portion of its tax bill will go up by just shy of $370, or about 34%. 4.4%. County and Lakeshore Technical College, or Lakeshore College now, I can't tell you to what extent their levies changed. I didn't do that homework, but there you've got a couple factors. You've got the reval, you've got the fact that this past year they have to spread their levy based on the equalized values of the different units in their service areas. We continued to grow at a faster rate than the balance of the county, so Two Rivers picks up more. So as a result, we are projecting that the county portion of your tax bill will go up by 13.7%, Lakeshore College up by about 16%. Bottom line, before the various credits apply, tax bill would be up on this house would be up 18.5%. The various credits, the school credit is up, the lottery, and that's a function of tax rate. I think that gets applied to the rate side. The lottery and first dollar credit, which are a flat amount per property, lottery credit's down a bit, first dollar credit up. So our best estimate after the credits are applied, that tax bill is up about 20%. So again, we're all in this together. We all live in a community and pay taxes that go to all the entities. But the city, as shown in the budget the council adopted this evening, has done its best to keep that tax levy flat. Again, on this going up by the standard average increase. So hopefully that's helpful as an illustration. There's a lot of ways to grossly misinterpret it right out of the gate. Assumptions, but that's our snapshot. And the nice thing is my numbers match those of the finance director because we came up with our tables separately. So yeah, taxes are going to go up. Don't expect change unless your valuation went down a fair amount. Don't expect a lot of change from that escrow check, if any, this year.
So everyone has evaluations, right? And they'll take times the living times the valuation.
Yeah. Or the rate times the valuation. Yeah. And the goal is to get tax bills in the mail by the end of this week, Cassie? That's the goal. Yep, that's always the goal. Council approves budget on Monday. The goal is to get them out by Friday. And we'll advise you, and there'll be a Facebook post when they hit the mail. Okay. With that, would recommend council approval of the resolution approving tax levy for the city. Again, if anybody's taking a look at the council packet online, you might scratch your head and say, why is there a rate shown for the Two Rivers schools and for the Manitowoc School District? Well, because there's a little bit of Two Rivers City that lies in the Manitowoc School District. And the biggest part of that, the biggest highest value property that falls in the Manitowoc schools would be the Aurora Medical Office building out on Memorial and Woodland. The single biggest tax-paying property in the city actually lies within the boundaries of the Manitowoc School District. And then there are, I think, a few houses still on Woodland Drive that are within the Manitowoc School District. So more information than you asked for, but that's some background.
Okay. And we're looking for a motion to approve the tax levy. Thank you, Doug. Second by Bonnie. Thank you. Council discussion. Yes, Tim.
Just so the public knows, it went up because of the school referendum. It wasn't us.
Right.
Two other factors, this budget, they're not under control. I'll tell you, we can all. Department heads did a great job trying to squeeze this thing down and control the expenses. Also got her insurance cost. It was a major accelerator across all department levels.
Health insurance, 13% added over $250,000 to the budget right there. Yep. And taxes are painful. We're great. If I could add, we're grateful that the state made a commitment to increasing shared revenues that I think added $120,000 on the revenue side this year. So we're actually seeing shared revenues for the first time grow as the state pulls more money out of our pockets for sales taxes for those inflated purchases that we make. And at the end of the day, it's good to keep taxes down, but when services are needed, like we saw illustrated again this past weekend, having those capabilities, the people, the equipment to deliver those services, whether they're emergency or routine, is also right up there as far as being important.
Darla.
I could say a lot on this, but I'm going to refrain. One thing I wanted to say, though, that's pretty important to me, and I think it's important to other people, is, we spend a lot of money on this remodel. And I sure hope that by doing that, it improves the standardized test score for this community, because I think that has priority. That's all I'm going to say about this.
Anyone else? See no one else. This will be a roll call vote. Amanda?
Adam Mohusky,
Aye.
Darla Leclerc,
Aye.
Mark Bittner,
Aye.
Shannon Derby, Bill Leclerc,
Aye.
Doug Brandt,
Aye.
Tim Petrie, Bonnie Shimalunas,
Aye.
Scott Stepmuser,
Aye.
all in favor.
Okay, on to F, resolution approving business improvement district levy and assessment rate for 2025.
The last budget-related resolution. This relates to the amount of the levy and rate for the Business Improvement District's assessment that applies to properties in the downtown area. This has been in place since 1996, I believe, when the bid was created for the sole purpose of supporting the Main Street program, or a Main Street type program in the downtown. This comes to you as recommended by the bid board and is consistent with what shows for revenue in the bid, in the Main Street budget for this year. Again, the bid board is made up entirely of people that are stakeholders and pay this assessment within the district. The net increase in the levy, or the dollars to be collected, is $2,500 because of a correction. There'd been an oversight where the new Bank First property for several years was not listed on the roll. It is now. That's the only lift in revenue this anticipates, because the bid board is recommending rolling back the assessment rate from $2 per thousand assessed value to $1.77 per thousand of assessed value. Again, subject to a minimum assessment of $100 per assessable parcel and a maximum assessment of $2,500 per assessable owner. So that's meant to cover even one owner that might own multiple parcels in the district. So it's effectively revenue neutral for the district, again, with the bid board, as you probably recall seeing in their minutes, feeling that, like City Council, they did not want to reap a windfall, even though it was smaller on commercial properties, from just an increase in assessed value due to the reval.
Boundary change.
No boundary changes at this time. However, the bid board emphasized again, they really want to see some serious discussion of boundary changes happen. And that kind of goes back to, I think, Bill Keel of Karen Net made some comments to that effect to council earlier this year.
Looking for a motion to waive reading and adopt the resolution as recommended by the Business Improvement District Board.
Motion.
Thank you, Mark. Second by Shannon. Any council discussion? Seeing none, this will be a roll call vote. Amanda?
Darla Leclerc,
Aye.
Mark Bittner, Shannon Derby, Bill Leclerc,
Aye.
Doug Brandt,
Aye.
Tim Petrie,
Aye.
Bonnie Shimalunas,
Aye.
Scott Stepmuser,
Aye.
Adam Mohusky,
Aye.
all in favor.
Thank you all for that. On to G, discuss possible need for a work session special meeting on December 23rd, 2024 for a hearing and action on a conditional use permit.
Okay. I was kind of anticipating the council would be very happy not to have a work session meeting in December. It's a 5 Monday month, so you got another regular meeting on the 16th in 2 weeks. And then we have Monday the 23rd and Monday the 30th. However, last week we were contacted by the owners of the Hamilton Home and Northland Lodge who indicated they are currently pursuing a financing arrangement or a refinancing arrangement. And in doing their due diligence, recognized that while the current owners have owned the facility for a while, the conditional use permit that was issued by the city back at the time we saw the Northland Lodge developed, that conditional use permit was issued specifically to the entity that applied at that time, which is a former owner. So that really means that at this point in time, that property is non-compliant from a zoning standpoint. And that sort of thing is kind of important when it comes to financing and, what your bank wants to see in place. So they have submitted an application for a new conditional use permit. That matter will appear on the Plan Commission agenda next Monday, the 9th, to bring a recommendation back to council. But the first ad would have had to appear today to get a Class 2 notice done timely for the December 16 meeting. So the Plan Commission can give its input next Monday and refer the matter to council. The question is, when would council be willing to consider a special meeting between the 16th and the end of the month to either just act on this item, or since you're here, make it a work session? I'll leave that up to you. I'd suggest the 23rd. That should be sufficiently timely, and it gives these folks another week to finish up whatever they're doing with their financing. But I just wanted to make sure we could have a quorum and what your thoughts were on that. Thanks, or at least Christmas falls in the middle of the week on Wednesday, so.
Yeah, I can make it that Monday.
Show of hands, folks that believe you can make it that Monday. Okay.
For the 23rd, Bonnie.
For people who are going to be here.
Yeah, can be here, correct.
I can be here.
It's looking unanimous out of the group we've got here. So, okay. Bill, will that work for you as far as you know?
Bill?
We don't know for sure.
Yeah, I think that'd be okay.
Okay. Yep.
For what it's worth, I can make it as well. I don't know if Sean picked, but I know I can.
Very good. Thanks. That's right. I did ask you guys today. Thank you. Thank you on that, Andrew. And I'll be in touch with the council president if there are other items that, don't abuse your holiday schedule too much to treat this session. Either on the 16th or the 23rd, Attorney Adams will bring back some proposed parameters for those council listening sessions that were discussed at the work session. So right now we're shooting for the 16th, but I know council wanted to get going on that so we could get the word out in the newsletters for January and so on. So good. Yeah. Mark your dance cards then for a special meeting on Monday, December 23rd. Under information only, well, I'm asking about your dance cards again for next Monday. I think we discussed this previously. The Plan Commission will be reviewing the site and architectural plans for the proposed development at 3000 Forest Avenue, the 52-unit apartment proposal, next Monday, the 9th, at their regular meeting. And let me think here. Yeah. And I was thinking it, because we are likewise pursuing, and the council has discussed in closed session as duly noticed on a recent agenda, development agreement to assist that development with TIF dollars. And that agreement does, as proposed, does include the council having final sign off on the design. It could just make a whole lot of sense to have both bodies, Plan Commission and City Council, sit down viewing the same plan sets for dialogue with the developer's representative. So again, there goes another Monday. This is typically a 5:30 p.m. meeting. I'm always there. Adam is always there as the council rep. But again, what's the availability of council members for such a meeting? Honey, you often come to our Plan Commission meetings, but do you?
Sorry, what are you asking for?
What I'm asking is the Plan Commission regular meeting is next Monday. They're looking at site plans for 3000 Forest. we're asking the council if it approves a development agreement. Part of that is also this council approving those plans. Do you want to sit down jointly with the plan commission so they don't get one set of recommendations from the plan commission that are maybe at variance with council? So could the council meet jointly with the plan commission next Monday at 5:30?
I can, yeah.
Okay. You were a no for that, I think. Okay, okay. We look pretty good in terms of a potential quorum then, so, sorry, there's 4 Mondays now in December, so we'll.
That's at 5:30, not
That's at
6.
5:30,
Okay.
yeah, here in chambers.
Because it says on the agenda 6. I just want to make sure
Oh, dear.
everyone's aware that it's 5:30.
Thank you, thank you. Okay, 5:30, thank you. And then, last but not least, the next regular meeting is 2 weeks from tonight at 6 PM.
Work sessions.
Well, I guess that's a question. If we need a work session and you're meeting on the 23rd, would you just as soon do it then and get it done
Yes.
for the month? Otherwise, you'd be meeting on, now as it stands, 5 Mondays.
No, we'll just,
Okay, so we'll shoot for that. Okay, that's all I have, and not jumping the gun, but I don't see the need for the closed session as listed on the agenda. I put that as a placeholder with the need to list what would be discussed if we needed it.
okay.
Is that legal? Can we do that? Legally, we can.
Indeed, yes, you can.
Okay, so no 13, no 14, on to 15. Looking for a motion to adjourn.
Yes.
Adam, second by Shannon. No council discussion, I'm assuming. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed?
No.
Motion carried.
No.
Thank you very much. Good night.